All right. Bioindicators. Bioindicators are exactly what it says. They indicate how the environment's doing. And there are plants and there's also animals that are considered to be bioindicators. And for people that are ecologists, when their actual job is to determine, how our ecosystem's doing and is there a lot of air pollution, what they will do is they go out into the rural areas. They're not going to look within the city because obviously there's a lot more air pollution inside the city than there would be if they went outside the city into, farmland or forest or whatever, but away from the cars, away from the businesses and everything that's actually pouring a lot of air pollution into our environment. So they'll go out there and they start looking at the lichens because lichens are pioneers, which means, they've been around forever. They're going to be the first ones that are populating an environment. And when pollution gets really high, the lichens, they start to die. They're very, very sensitive to pollutants in the atmosphere, too much carbon dioxide, those kind of things. They tend to absorb them. And when that happens, then they're going to die off. And that's the way ecologists can tell, if we've got way too much pollution in our atmosphere, this is a mutualistic relationship that's been here long before we were. And so it sort of indicates the life, and how it's going in our ecosystem. If they were looking at animals, one of the animals that's a bioindicator are frogs. Frogs have been around forever and they're very, very sensitive to air pollution. And so they absorb the air pollution through their skin. And when frogs start dying off, then it's sort of like, uh-oh, we've got a lot of air pollution. It's starting to affect the frogs. The frogs have been here long before we were, and this is going to start affecting us if it continues. So there is in any ecosystem what is considered to be a bioindicator, and they just indicate how the environment is doing in relation to air pollution. All right, mycorrhizae. Mycorrhizae is a mutualistic relationship between a fungus and the roots of some plants. Not all plants have them. I want to make that perfectly clear. It's not all plants, but some of them do. And so what's happening is the hyphae is actually increasing the surface area for the root's absorption of the minerals and the nutrients. And of course, we know that the tree is carrying out photosynthesis and supplying the glucose to the fungus. Now, this is going to be on the root, and we know that roots don't have chloroplasts, so that's not the root that's carrying out photosynthesis, but the tree itself is carrying out photosynthesis in the top portion of the leaf. And so there is a method, sort of like our veins and arteries. It's called xylem and phloem, but there is a method by which trees can transport that glucose from the leaves to other parts of the tree that actually aren't carrying out photosynthesis. So, behind the bark, it's not the bark isn't carrying out photosynthesis, and the branches, only the top portion of the leaf. So the roots as well are not carrying out photosynthesis, so there has to be a means of getting that glucose down into the root. That's the relationship that the plant has with the fungus. The fungus is going to receive these carbohydrates and nitrogen from the plant, but in return, it is providing some minerals subterranean underneath the ground. It is providing some minerals for the plant. One thing that this applies to in your life, or maybe your parents experienced this, I sure have, because I've made every mistake when it comes to plants. I practically apologize to them when I buy them because I think they're going to die right off the bat. But if you are repotting a plant, say you come home and you've got a pretty flower and you need to pot it into another container because it needs more, you have to take the dirt from the container it's in and make sure that when you transplant the plant or the tree, it can be the one. Sometimes you see trees in these big root balls. You have to plant the tree with that root ball or the plant with its soil, because if you don't, then the mycorrhizae is going to be removed and the plant can't survive. And I've done this a million times. I've transplanted something and I've pulled the plant out and the dirt kind of remained in the old pot, and I thought, no big deal, I'll just put it in the new pot with new dirt. Can't do that, because when you do that, all the mycorrhizae that was supplying the nutrients and the minerals to the plant now is in the old pot. And so when you transplant it, it doesn't have that and the plant will die. So anytime you see a tree with a root ball, it has to be planted with that root ball. So mycorrhizae is going to be a mutualistic relationship between a fungus and the roots of some plants. Again, not all plants have them, but some do. And the fungus is increasing the surface area to absorb those minerals and nutrients. And the plant is carrying out photosynthesis. And the carbs that it's producing is glucose. And of course, there's going to be some amino acids because they're also going to absorb those from the oxygen and return them to the soil. All right, now medical uses. We've been over this first one, Penicillium notatum. Now that's in italics, but you have to underline it if you're writing it. This is an Ascomycetes, and it's our source of penicillin. Claviceps purpureae. This is another one that is a medication that is used to reduce high blood pressure. It's in a lot of high blood pressure medications. It's used to control excessive bleeding. A lot of times it's a medication. They will use this medication if you, for some reason, have taken a lot of antibiotics and killed the vitamin K, because the vitamin K from E. coli, what it produces goes towards blood clotting. And so sometimes people bleed excessively. They'll also use it in hemophiliac patients because they're bleeders. Sometimes it's used to treat migraine headaches. It can promote contractions during birth. So this is a fungus that is put in quite a few medications that has a lot of roles. At the bottom, Tolipocladium inflatum. This is your scientific name for the cyclosporin. So we talked about that a minute ago. Your cyclosporin is an immune suppressant drug. It suppresses the immune system so that your immune system doesn't fight. I can tell you, if you've got anything going on, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, MS, any of those types of autoimmune diseases, very often you were given an immune suppressant drug so that your immune system acquiesces or just lays low. It just keeps it from fighting. This isn't the only one, but this is definitely the medication that is most common in transplant patients.